So today let's just see an application that you can use in your organizations to find out the difference between two databases. So many times what happens is we have whenever we develop an application, we do the development into dev environment, and whenever we are passing that application for testing, we need to pass that application to our testing team. After that, where mostly companies pass it on to pre-prod environment or staging environment, and after that finally the application is deployed into production environment. So what happens many times, development takes into one database, and testing takes into different testing database. So many times what happens, developers do testing, lot of new tables are generated, lot of new columns are edited, many stored procedures are being added over there. So lot of stuff goes in development, and when we ship our application for testing to test environment, our test databases misses some of the migration of tables, stored procedures, right? Some table definitions, say. So many times what here we need to do is we need to check which tables are missing from our testing environment and that are present on our dev environment. So many times what happens when we deploy our application, say you having an Amazon website, and that Amazon website you have completed its development. Now you are trying to shift your application to test environment. So as you ship your application, you also need to move all the related tables and stored procedures to the testing database. Now many times what happens is developers create a lot of tables, a lot of stored procedures, and they we while migrating, they don't have a track of what new tables and what new stored procedures has been added over the period of development time, right? So while shipping our application to test environment, we should be aware which are the tables that are currently exist in the development environment, and which are the tables that we are missing on the testing environment, right? So say today just let's see an application that can be used for syncing the data between these two data sets. So let's just consider classic models underscore test as my testing database, and classic models as my development database. Now to find out difference between this, so we have an application called MySQL Helper. So here say I want to give my, so here name you can put in anything, say I have to compare two environments or two databases, one is dev and one is from testing environment. So to identify the results, just simply you can put in any name over here which you can distinctly identify after getting the results. So for example, our host is 192.168.0.107. Okay, 192. So let's just see. So now my development and testing databases resides on same host. So I will be using the same IP address. If you have different database servers, you can put in your different database servers IP address over this host and respect username and password. Now in database you need to put in the name of the database. So for example, which you have to compare. So for example, here I have to compare classic models, right? So I will be using classic models from this database server, and from different database server. Say if you are using different one, you can put it on the respective name over there. Now my testing database is classic models underscore test, and let's just create a connection over here. So you will be getting an connection established successful message. If something goes wrong, you will be notified like your username, password, or host you need to recheck on. Now here On left panel you can see there is an option for missing tables. So say if between these two databases I want to compare which table is present on which database, then you can go to the section missing tables, right? So in missing tables you can see on my dev database I'm having a table. I'm missing with one table called organizations. So here you can see on QA the highlighted one is the organizations, and this organizations is missing in dev. So what this says is like your organization table is present in your testing dataset and it is missing in your dev database. So many times what happens whenever our testing team raises and bugs, so to fix that bug we directly do a development into uh, QA environments sometimes. So what happens is like when we try to replicate the same scenario in dev environment, since this organization table is missing, we would be crashing our application, right? So for this from missing tables you can see if your tables on which environment which table is present and from which environment which one is missing. So after that there is a section of missing SPs. So missing SPs will let you know which stored procedures are missing on which database. So for example on dev database I have USP get offices, and this stored procedure is missing on my classic models underscore test database. So if you go back to your databases and see, so see in classic models test data set my stored procedures, I am missing this get offices stored procedure over here, and that stored procedure is present in my development database. So see, he for using this application now, since it's a single stored procedure, when you develop very large applications there will be a whole set of stored procedures, say numerous amounts of stored procedures, 500 600. At that time it becomes very tedious to get in which stored procedure is missing on which databases. So while migrating you can take help of this application. You can use this application and easily find out which stored procedures are missing and which stored procedures are present on which databases, right? So same after that, if we have seen right now missing tables, so it shows the table is missing in which environment, right? Now if the table is present and developer has added some extra column into existing tables, that also we need to know, right? So say my order tables is having a column order ID, order number and order place, and in my testing environment I only have order ID and order number, I'm missing with order place. So we need to sync both the tables to work our application properly, right? So we need to identify such cases like these columns are missing or these columns have been added over after a time. So for that we are having a section called table definitions. So when you click on table definitions, the application goes back to databases, it fetches all the tables uh, DDL statements, and after that it gives comparative statements, right? So it will also highlight in which columns are being extra and what are the missing. So for example in orders, here I have a column comments, and this comments is having a data type as text, right? Now here you can see on my test environment my comments column is having a data type varchar. So many times it becomes very tedious for us to say. Now even my column is present over here, but due to different data types I won't be able to store my comment. So for example in varchar there is a limit, I can store a limited comment strings in varchar. In text I can store a very large amount of text over text as in comments, right? So there are many cases when our application fails. So say you are writing in Python code or you are writing a .NET code, where there you also need to know the data types of the columns, and if those changes, your application crashes, right? So here you can also use these to see if the column is missing. If column is missing, it will be highlighted in the same manner, and if it says column is even present but there it is having different data types, so it is highlighted. Now here you can see order number int not null, which is very same that in my testing database. So the things which are present in your both the databases, it will not be highlighted. On only the things which are different, that will be highlighted using these applications. Now see, in missing tables we have seen like our organization table is present in test environment and it is missing in dev environment. So even when we compare table definitions, it also shows like this organization table is present in your testing data set, but it is missing into your dev environment, right? So after that, uh, now we have seen missing tables, missing SPs, table definitions. Next is SP definitions, right? So say now you know like you are missing this stored procedures, right? So ABC stored procedure is present in my dev environment and ABC stored procedure is missing from my QA environment. Now suppose many times these stored procedures exist. Say ABC procedure is present in my dev as well as in QA, but there were some changes in dev environment. So our dev environment ABC stored procedure will be looking different as that of QA dataset, right? So say for example, I am having a stored procedure USP get customer. So here you can see this stored procedure is simply selecting all of its customer, right? And here in USP get customers in our test database, you can see there is an extra where clause on customer number. So this stored procedure will be selecting all the customers from customer tables, and this stored procedure will be selecting a specific customer with customer number, right? So here you can see the stored procedures, both of them are different, and which statement is making it different, though that will be highlighted over here, right? So see, now here you can see this is a select star from customer and this is also select star from customer. Then why this application highlighted it, right? So here you can see there is a semicolon at end and here there is a no semicolon. So simply it is a string comparison, and wherever there will be a difference in even space or even in a simple semicolon comma, all these things will be captured in this application, and this will show like, yeah, this semicolon is present over here and this semicolon is missing. So simply here, from here this application we came to know like the SPs with different definition also we can get using this application. So for example, next let's see, it's a USP get orders. In USP get orders also, here you can see there is an additional where clause in our dev environment and we are missing that where clause in test environment. So it is very necessary to keep in sync both of our environments, say dev, test or staging or our production environments. So using this application you can easily keep in track of what stored procedures, what definitions are present in which databases, and accordingly you can sync it to perform your applications, to outperform your application, right? So in here same way, so see, this SP definitions will be comparing only SP definitions, so whatever inside in the stored procedure. Now if you want to compare stored procedure in parameters, there is SP in params section. So this will highlight the difference between the in parameters. So say if you are having a stored procedure get orders, and that get orders is having an input parameter order id. Now this get orders is having an input parameter order id in dev, but it will be missing on test. So in order to get such cases, you this SP in parameters section will help you. So for example, USP get customers IP customer number is an input parameter which is present in our test environment, and this is missing in our dev environment, right? So In this way also, for in parameters you can check which parameters are missing and which parameters are existing over here, right? So you might have observed, like while getting sp definitions, this application has took a bit of time, right? So say depending on your number of stored procedures and depending on your definitions, it will take that much of time. So say for example, I am having 600 of stored procedures and each stored procedure is of 100 to 200 number of lines. So accordingly it will take your time, right? So since this application was only having two store procedures, it was highlighting only for those of them, right? So as per your uh, say the amount of data you are comparing, your results will be dealing with that. So simply missing tables and missing SPs will work faster, and table definitions and SP definitions as well as SP in params will be taking the amount of time depending on your amount of data present in the databases. Amount of data means actually not the data residing in the tables, but the number of tables, number of stored procedures, and the number of lines within your stored procedures, right? So in this application, say if you are comparing sp in parameters and you need to go back to your stored procedure to see where this ip customer number is being used, or in the this is missing, right? So in sp definitions, if you want to see, like if usp get customers is having different definition, now since this is an extra parameter which is being used in usp get customers, definitely, and since it is missing on dev, definitely adding this in parameter will be leading to a change into the query. So see, there was an extra in parameter ip customer number which is used on where clause, right? So many times there will be cases you need to go back and forth into these sections, right? So sp definitions, now you see, while first time loading this application it took a bit of time for getting this difference, right? But now as soon as I click onto these tabs, it will directly load your data in fraction of seconds, right? So this application is caching the results. Say you are having 500 and 600 stored procedures definitions you need to compare. So when you launch your application, only at that time when you click on the this tab, it will take bit of time, right? After that these results will be cached into your redis database. So after getting the result once, these results will be cached and you can retrieve it directly, right? So once you get in a result, it will be cached into this application and these cached results only will be shown out here, right? So say now you have checked into your sp definition and you will go to your database and add this where clause into your dev database, right? So after that, and you come back into this application and you uh, again try to see the sp definition whether this application shows the difference or not, so it will not work. Why? Because this application has cached your results and these results, cached results only will be shown over here. So this is one time comparison. So say now you have added the missing tables to the respective databases, missing sps, table definitions, everything you are seeing here. Now going back to your database, you have synced up all that, and again you need to compare whether I am missing with any tables. Then you need to go to new connection. Once you change whatever table definitions, some missing store procedures, sp definitions, or in parameters, by seeing to this application, when you go back to your database and sync all those things, it won't be reflected over here since these results are being cached, right? Now after that, now say now I have synced many of the sps, I have deployed the missing sps, deployed the missing tables. Then again I come back to application and to check if I'm missing on something, then you need to go to new connection, again create your new connection and log into your application. Then you would be comparing the latest data which is present on your databases, right? So this was your application which you can basically used for uh, finding out the difference between the two databases. And basically we have, it is a MySQL helper, so it currently supports only for MySQL version. So this application is in beta, say v1.1.1, and as soon as we move further we can add in much more plugins, say SQL Server or BigQuery. We can add in the extensions over here, and accordingly we can compare those, right? So l- guys, this was the application which you can use for your uh, finding the differences between the two databases, syncing up them, and for uh, happily moving with your application, right, into different environments. Yeah. So if you want to know the working of these applications behind the scenes, like so basically this application is developed using Python and Redis and your MySQL database query. So if you want to know like how the applications works behind the scene, please let me know in the comments, and I will be posting a new video on how this application is working, right? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.